Well, what's up? This is Josh Fowler, one of the co-hosts of Full Time Hustle, and I'm really excited about what we're talking about today. We're talking about work-life balance, and I think this is so important for those of us that really care about how we make all this happen and balance everything. And let's be honest, who doesn't care about that? How do you fix everything? How do you balance everything when you've got this passion, you've got this career that means so much to you, but you've got your family and you've got other obligations? How do you deal with it all? We're going to unpack it all today on Full Time Hustle. You're listening to the Full Time Hustle podcast, an audio resource about life and business. Geared towards the creative entrepreneur, Full Time Hustle is all about sharing time-tested methods and tips about everything small business related. From sales and marketing, all the way to accounting and client interaction, Full Time Hustle covers everything you want to know about how to get things done. Turn your side hustle into a full-time hustle. For more resources, visit us online at fulltimehustle.net. Today's episode is brought to you in part by 17 Hats. 17 Hats is the premier online-based small business management software that does everything from invoicing to books to even keeping track of your contracts. Do what you do best and let 17 Hats do the rest. To get 10% off your first subscription, visit 17hats.com/card/full-time hustle. That's 17hats.com/card/full-time hustle for a free 17-day trial and 10% off your first subscription. Or simply apply the coupon Full-Time Hustle in your account settings. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show. Well, thanks for joining us again at Full Time Hustle. We're having a great time on this podcast, really diving into how to take your side hustle to a full-time hustle. And it's been a really, really good time. If this is your first time joining us, we're really glad to have you. Thanks for jumping on and listening to us. We talk about a lot of things that aren't necessarily hard and fast rules. They're really principles, and they're principles based on things that have been around forever, just common sense business stuff, and also stuff that my wife Susan and I have learned as we've been in business for the past 7 years. So today we're talking about work-life balance. And tell me why you wanted to talk about this.
For me, this is like one of the most important things because it's a balance. And so a balance doesn't mean that you hit a certain point and you're done. It means that you're literally it's always a continuing thing.
Sure.
And so I think no matter where you're at in business, no matter if you have 0 employees and you work 1 hour a week, or you have 1 million employees and you're way overworked, like there's always a balance that has to be had between your work and your life. And even when I think it's most difficult for creative entrepreneurs or any kind of small business owner, because we love what we do. That's why we're doing it.
Absolutely.
And when you love what you do, it's hard to stop. And when your kid, like for us, we have kids. And so if my kid is being a tyrant and work is really fun, guess which one I want to do?
Absolutely. I understand. And I just want to interject something really quick. This is completely off topic, but I just feel like I need to say it. If our listeners are listening to us and it sounds like we're in World War III, we're not. We live in between a lot of different airports, and we take great measures, I think, to make sure that we produce this in a great environment, but there's just no competing with an F-22 flying over your house. So if you hear that, that's what's going on.
And we live near a hospital.
Yeah. So
and a fire station.
Yeah. So we're doing the best we can. I think that despite hearing 30 warplanes fly over, you're still going to be able to walk away with a lot of great gold nuggets from this episode. So let's just jump right in. We've got 4 points here. Susan, why don't you get us started?
All right. So the first thing, which has been to me the most helpful, is having people in our corner. So this is especially when you have kids, but I think it works even before you do, is having people so that you're not so alone. Because
this is from a support perspective, or like family, friends, like unpack that a little bit.
Both and all.
Okay.
And so if you don't have people in your corner, if you don't have friends and family or anything like that, then why would you ever stop working? Mm-hmm. What life is there outside of work? And so making sure that you don't just isolate yourself so much and that you have people in your corner. Now, for us, we have kids, and so we rely heavily on these people to help us where we fall short. And so, and it does, as
our life kind of depends on it, honestly.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we don't have family here.
No, we don't have family within 8 hours of us, and we moved here not knowing a soul. And so everyone that we met at first was just from Josh's work.
Yeah.
And because that's the reason that we moved here. And then we like people and we like making friends. And
the people in our corner, honestly, are our best friends, are people from church. We have a lady who works for us. Her name is Joellen. She is incredible. She's
amazing.
Like a
amazing.
fairy godmother, honestly.
She does everything.
She does. We have interns, and
we do.
A lot of people think the role of an intern can be super insignificant, but our interns actually work. They actually do really important things.
They've never gone and got us coffee. They've offered, but I don't have the heart.
It does feel weird. It does feel weird to do that.
Yeah, and so I think when it comes to a work-life balance, for us personally, what it looks like is that we need help with house cleaning and with our kids, because otherwise we can't get everything done that we need to do. And with work, we have help with work too. And so look at the things that honestly, take a look at yourself and see what you're worst at.
Mm-hmm.
I am worst at house cleaning. So either I have someone help me with it or my house is a mess. And we go back and forth depending on what the budget looks like. But it's just one of those things that I am not always going to have a perfect house unless someone else is doing it for me. And I have to forgive myself on that and know that sometimes I just have to play with my kids or sit down and eat dinner with them rather than have a perfectly clean house.
Sure. Yeah. And so we've got babysitters, we've got interns, we've got friends, we've got all these things. What is the magic glue that holds all this together?
Flexibility is key. It's absolute key, because this isn't, having a side hustle and then trying to turn it into a full-time hustle. This isn't something that everyone does. This isn't the norm. And so your schedule isn't going to look like the norm. And our schedule certainly doesn't look like the norm. One of the biggest things was back when Josh was still working full-time and doing this on the side, and I was doing our business full-time, and we had our oldest daughter, Hazel, and she wasn't in school during the day, or her school started at 9. But then in the evenings, I was doing photo sessions, and we were doing weddings on the weekend. And so our evenings and weekends, which is the typical family time, were kind of shot, and they were very inconsistent. And we could go through the whole week and really felt like we hadn't spent much time as a family. So we started doing family breakfasts. And Josh would cook a huge breakfast, like over the top breakfast. And
That's what I like to do.
Eggs, bacon, gravy. I don't even know what all he did. Biscuits. And, but that was our family time, because we did have about an hour in the morning where we could interact and stuff like that. And that meant that he had to have everything else ready to go the night before for work. But it gave us family time, and that was what replaced our family dinners, because they were spotty. And it was very important to us to have that family time. And so it just doesn't always look exactly like it's planned. The other thing is when we both worked full time and I just did photos on the side, and Josh did a lot of music. This was back when we lived in South Carolina, and we would meet at home each day for lunch. Do you remember that, Josh? We didn't have much time. Maybe it wasn't every day.
Yeah.
No. I remember what it was. You had just quit your job and I was working full time and doing this on the side. And you were actually interviewing with the church here in Virginia at the time. And I would come home and I only had about 30 minutes, but you would make me a ton of guacamole and we would sit on the couch and eat guacamole and chips.
That is so funny.
And talk. And we were overworked. We didn't have much time together, but that was our solace during the day. And it didn't happen every day, but just making sure that you have some regular time, even if it's not the typical time that we would be able to hang out, or that you would be able to hang out with friends or family or anything like that. Just knowing to grab that time when you can.
Now, how do you prioritize that?
Well, it depends on how crazy your life is. The crazier our life has gotten, the more detailed we have to be. So it used to just be like, cool, I'll see you for lunch. Oh, we're doing lunch today, or something like that. Or, then it turned into the family breakfasts after we had our daughter. But now I mean, our lives are insane right
Yeah.
now. We've got 2 kids, we've got the business and everything, and Zane has a ton of medical appointments. So we have to write out a schedule daily or weekly. And literally it gets down to who is picking up this kid on this day from this place and who is doing that. And when we do that, we notice that there are holes in the schedule. There are days where no one is available to pick up our daughter from school. And that's a problem. And so we can see that and we can fix that problem. And then we can weave little things in like, okay, after I pick her up, I'm going to go grocery shopping. And you know what? It's kind of a lame date, but that can be our mommy daughter date, which means we're probably buying ice cream.
Absolutely.
You know, and little things like that make a big difference and help that work-life balance work together.
And I'll talk to the tech people out there just for a second. Like Google Calendar, if you use Google or Gmail or whatever, has really come a long way in being able to sync with your phones. We do our work email through Google, which is another podcast for another day, but you can have Gmail as your work email, like at your domain. And for us, it comes with Google Calendar, and we sync everything up with Google Calendar. Like if Susan puts something on her calendar, it shows up on my phone. If I do it, it happens the same way with her. And we're able to spread that out across all of our computers, all of our devices, and we all see what's going on. And that's not just something that's available with the paid Google services. Anybody with a Gmail account can do that. And the same thing exists, you know, like with Microsoft Outlook or whatever. Like technology has really positioned itself these days to be able to, you know, help shape the life of people who are super busy. And we try to exploit that to its fullest potential. And I think we really do a good job of it.
Yes. And I will say, like, from a wife perspective, it helps me so much to feel loved. And this sounds crazy, but when you're doing your own thing and I'm doing my own thing and, you know, someone has to pick up the kids, like, it kind of feels lonely sometimes that, like, I don't know what you have planned and you have this crazy important work meeting at 3:00, but someone has to pick up our daughter at 3:30 and I had the whole day planned to edit a wedding. And so my stuff gets pushed aside and I'm resentful about that. And so it all kind of like, it kind of
So what you're saying is having
down.
a calendar written out helps you to be...
Yeah, for me to know. And
Yeah.
so I know that if you have a very important work meeting at that point in time, then okay, I'm going to need to stop what I'm doing and go do family stuff for a little bit. And on the flip side, when you're planning that very important meeting, maybe it could have been on a different day and you see, hey, Susan was planning this for that day. I could just do a different day, no big deal. And that way I can pick up the kids.
And I know that we're probably talking to the married folks quite a bit here because married people are the ones who care the most about communication and who really value that, you know, that straight line of communication and knowing what's going on. But one example of this is recently I have a hobby. If you don't know, I collect bourbon, and I went to go basically pick up a large group pick. We had several of my friends we'd all gone in together and bought our own barrel of bourbon. And I had mentioned to Susan, like, hey, I've got to go pick this up on this day. But I didn't put it on the calendar.
Nope.
And so what ended up happening was that all got planned, and then I got sick. I didn't put it on the calendar. We didn't talk about it. And then I got better.
There was a big snowstorm.
There was a big snowstorm, and you had pretty much had the kids all week.
Yes.
Because I had been sick.
Right on the tails of Christmas break. So they were in school for like a day and a half and then out, and everyone was sick, and I was cleaning everything in the house.
Yeah. And I think it was like that Thursday evening we were having a conversation about something, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do it when I go to pick up that barrel. And you're like, pick up that barrel, you know, what are you talking about? And it just hit me that, oh man, that didn't get put on the calendar, and it had to happen. And it was kind of like one of those things where it had been scheduled and a lot of people were depending on it, and that's the way it is. And I think that happens in our lives a lot, is we commit to things that absolutely must happen. We don't write them down, and it creates this wall in our communication, and that's really tough. And that's why it's so important to have a calendar and be able to write this stuff down.
And furthermore, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't have anything planned for that Saturday, and I can certainly take care of my kids all day. Like, there wasn't anything major. It was just the way that it made me feel. And you know, when I was so looking forward to having a family day where we could all hang out, and maybe you could take the kids outside and play in the snow, and maybe I could do anything but watch the kids for a few minutes. And to know that I felt like it was ripped away from me. And I know that sounds so dramatic because it's such a small thing. But I knew that when you went to go pick all that stuff up, you were going to be gone all day long. And sure enough, you left before the kids woke up and you got back 15 minutes before bedtime. And I was like, yep.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. But it was a good lesson learned. And it shows how much.
Setting the expectation that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And here's what I want to say too. And we're gonna close with this point. And I think this is so important. When you're in the moment with your family or your kids, it is really important that you actually be in the moment and not have your mind somewhere else. And we all do this with our phones. We have the tendency to pick up our phones, and the first thing we do is we just open up Facebook, or we open up Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, pick your poison. But we're open in social media, and we're engaged in what our friends are doing and how many likes our last picture got and how many comments and what's going on. And that's just not a great way to be when you have a little bit of time with your family. When you're with your family, you really need to put down the phones, or you need to put down the tablet, or cut off the TV, or whatever it is that's your distraction. You need to be able to step away from that, because there's really no replacing that quality time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And it needs to be quality.
Yep. And that goes with family. That goes with friends. If you're single and you're hanging out with your friends and you're just still working all the time, you're going to be single for a while.
Yeah. And people will, if you're not careful. Well, no, I mean, like people, if you constantly play on your phone, your reputation precedes you. People will start to joke like, oh yeah, he's probably on Facebook. Oh, he's probably on Snapchat or whatever, because people see you and that's all you're doing all the time. You're just constantly on your phone. So do be engaged, be in the moment, and be present when you're supposed to be. We hope this has been a great resource for you. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business, if you are, do us a favor, let us know about it. We're gonna have some emails, probably just a whole separate email for this podcast eventually set up. But if you're enjoying this, shoot us an email at josh@fowlerstudios.net or at susan@fowlerstudios.net. Let us know what you're learning. Let us know what you want to hear. We'd love to be able to address those topics. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.